The main character of the movie is Aruma. That night, he discovered an explosion at sea, and his eyes suddenly experienced a strange phenomenon. The next morning, it was reported that the shipwreck had resulted in over 200 presumed dead, and an ancient statue on board had disappeared. Aruma then went to school. At school, he was feared and shunned by others, except for a girl named Kana, who was friendly towards him. That afternoon, while leaving school, he saw a young man being bullied but did not intervene. Instead, he went to the river to collect stones, which Kana saw. The next day, she approached Aruma and invited him to join her club. When he refused, she suggested they go to the museum that afternoon. Her friend then pulled her away, and it was unclear why she was so intent on befriending Aruma and inviting him to join the club. If Aruma joined, the club would be chaotic because he had previously put someone in the hospital. But Kana dismissed it as a rumor and believed that Aruma was actually very gentle. That afternoon, on his way home, Aruma was surrounded by a group blocking his path, and snipers were positioned targeting his house as he entered. This was all arranged by a young lady named Ruri and her butler Kagami. They brought with them a masked demon and came to seek Aruma's help to defeat a stone demon, the one responsible for the ship explosion the previous night. If left unchecked, it would cause significant casualties. Aruma refused, prompting Kagami to reveal everything about him. 3 years ago, Aruma had hospitalized 18 people and was suspended for half a year. His father went missing, and his mother died in an accident, forcing him to live alone. Aruma's powers erupted, and Kagami threw him into a corner. The stone demon suddenly reactivated, and Aruma wanted them to leave him alone as a horn began to grow on his head. Ruri decided to leave, knowing the negotiations had failed. The masked demon warned her not to bother Aruma again, or he might destroy them all. The masked demon then appeared on the streets, turning anyone it looked at into stone. Kana and her friend were still waiting, but her friend decided to leave first, while Kana remained hopeful that Aruma would show up. Meanwhile, Ruri's people were preparing to intercept the stone demon. The demon suddenly sped towards a direction, and Aruma sensed it, recalling Kana's words. Realizing she was in danger, he decided to act. The demon was heading towards the museum, where a stone with immense power was being displayed, capable of enhancing the stone demon. Ruri had her people evacuate the museum, and Kagami attempted to purchase the stone, but the museum refused. Consequently, he had to engage in battle. Ruri believed Aruma would take action once he saw the demon harming people. Kagami, now inside a robot, confronted the demon, launching numerous missiles at it, but they were ineffective as it charged straight at him. The demon attempted to petrify both the robot and Kagami, but he managed to sever its arm. The demon dropped its head, and Kagami's control system was damaged. The demon then targeted Ruri, as she possessed a stone even more powerful than the one at the museum. Kagami switched to the secondary control system and pursued. Aruma saw Kana waiting for him at the bus stop when the demon arrived, injuring Kana. Aruma, enraged, unleashed his powers. The demon aimed for Ruri, intending to devour her, but Aruma intervened, throwing it aside. He materialized a suit of armor and charged at the demon, delivering a powerful punch and restraining it. His eyes continuously glowed as he threw the demon far away from the area, pursuing and attacking it, causing widespread destruction. Kagami arrived, thinking Aruma was beyond saving, and prepared to fire, but Ruri stopped him. She implored Aruma to regain control, and he grabbed her, nearly attacking her before coming to his senses and stopping. He lamented that once again, he had hurt others with his cursed power, a power he never wanted. Ruri decided to awaken his true strength. The demon's head had consumed the stone from the museum, and Ruri used the stone she carried to help Aruma master his powers. Aruma now possessed an entirely new suit of armor, but by this time, the demon head had transformed and gained a complete body. It charged at Aruma, who blocked its attack and threw it to a deserted place. The masked demon informed him that he needed to destroy its core. Aruma materialized a weapon on his arm and charged, punching the core with a drill, which pierced through and destroyed it. The remaining parts of the demon were taken away by Ruri's people, but one fragment escaped. Another demon transformed that fragment into a sword and flew away with wings. The next morning, Aruma returned to school and drove away the 3 bullies, helping the bully boy escape. He then went to Kana's club and discovered that Ruri and Kagami were also there. Ruri had bought the school and appointed Kagami as the student council president. She renovated the school beautifully, and the canteen now served gourmet food at student-friendly prices. Her main goal was to ensure the students' satisfaction and acceptance of the changes, while her primary mission remained demon extermination. Aruma went to Ruri's office and found the masked demon there. It mocked Aruma, calling him a thief. Ruri and Kagami arrived and explained that the being who called him a thief was a stone demon with the ability to sense other demons, which Ruri utilized. It started taunting Aruma, threatening to beat him up. Kagami explained to Aruma about the power he absorbed from the stone Ruri used the previous day. 17 years ago, a meteorite crashed on Earth, bringing with it 7 crystals that bestowed powers. These crystals could cause mutations, and it was likely that Aruma's mother had come into contact with one, giving him his abilities. The masked demon, originally residing in a temple, became like this after contacting one of the 7 crystals. Those who lost control after exposure to the crystals were called demons, while those who could control the power were known as warriors. Ruri wanted to rely on Aruma's power because demons were increasing in number, but he told her to seek help from the military instead. However, the military couldn't stand a chance, making Aruma her only hope. He remembered that she had worn a stone, but had used it to save him, so he needed time to think. Meanwhile, the fragment of the demon had escaped and was heading towards a military base. The black armor followed but hid underground to avoid being seen by humans. When discovered, the military base tried to transport something by plane, but the demon fragment made contact with the item during the flight, causing a massive explosion in the sky. At that time, Aruma and his 3 friends were by the river collecting stones. Kana recalled that this was the place where she and Aruma first met. However, Aruma wasn't looking for ordinary stones, but a purple stone that had been thrown into the river by a group, which had enraged him and triggered his powers, hospitalizing them. As the wind picked up violently, it came from the sea, prompting Kagami and his team to investigate. They discovered a stone demon within the clouds and learned that a military plane had gone missing a few days ago, carrying a missile warhead. It seemed that the stone demon had absorbed the warhead, transforming it. Kagami took photos and returned to show Ruri. She could only hope for Aruma's help. Kagami then went alone to meet Aruma and took him to Ruri's mansion, shocking Aruma with its enormous size. Kagami introduced him to Ruri's sister, who was imprisoned in a stone. This happened a few days after their parents were killed by demons. The stone Ruri had given Aruma was a keepsake from her mother. Ruri had established this organization to exterminate demons and ultimately free her sister from the stone. Ruri slapped Kagami, not wanting to use her sister as a reason to compel Aruma. But Aruma decided to help her. He was then taken to the demon cloud and forced to parachute in for the battle. Scared because it was his first jump and fearing death, the masked demon mocked him for being a coward and suggested bringing it along to help with the parachute jump and aerial combat. The plane was attacked by the demon, causing it to shake violently, resulting in the masked demon falling off and Aruma following suit. Ruri also jumped down without a parachute. The masked demon was swallowed by the demon below, but Ruri believed Aruma would help her defeat it. Aruma activated his armor and pulled out a hoverboard to fly in the sky. Inside the demon, the masked demon discovered its weak point. Aruma was dodging attacks, unsure where to strike, until the masked demon pointed it out. Aruma then pulled out a gun and shot the weak point, petrifying the demon, causing it to fall into the sea. He then returned Ruri to the plane. Kagami pleaded with Ruri not to take such reckless actions again, but she trusted Aruma to protect her. While they were having tea, Kagami mentioned the masked demon, reminding Ruri that it was still at the bottom of the sea and needed retrieval. Shortly after, Ruri went to England to purchase another stone. The masked demon noted her spending extravagantly, but she was willing to spend whatever it took to eradicate all stone demons worldwide. Meanwhile, Kagami had sent people to escort a man named Kemi. Suddenly, the black armor appeared and attacked, targeting Kemi. Kagami tried to intervene but was overwhelmed. The black armor effortlessly overpowered the robot, pinning it to the bridge and targeting Kemi. Kemi, who also possessed a stone, activated his own armor, and the two engaged in combat while Aruma was on his way. The black armor suddenly charged at Aruma, causing him to begin losing control of his powers. Recognizing the similarities between them, the black armor's pilot saw himself in Aruma. Kemi continued to fight but was thrown aside, and both sides transformed into demons, with Kemi being restrained. Helicopters arrived and opened fire, forcing the black armor to retreat. Aruma, in an incomplete transformation due to Ruri's absence to help him control his powers, soon returned to normal. Back at Ruri's mansion, it was revealed that Kemi was a doctor whose research facility had two escapees. The red-haired attacker, Kojima, was using the stone's power for criminal activities. Kemi had once discussed and tried to mentor Kojima, but Kojima was too arrogant and refused to change. Now blaming Kemi for taking away his freedom, Kemi pleaded with Ruri for help, promising to ensure her and Aruma's safety in return. He knew that the two escapees had taken the medicine to prevent losing control and turning into demons, and their supply was running out. They would inevitably come back for more, providing Kemi with an opportunity to capture them. Kojima returned to his hideout, where the girl who escaped with him administered a dose of the medicine. They had only one dose left and would need to get more. The girl wanted to accompany Kojima next time to confront Kemi, but Kojima knew Kemi wouldn't be easy to deal with and was also worried about Aruma, sensing his immense power. Aruma was pondering Ruri's words about Kemi's organization. She found him by the river and convinced him to come with her to see Kemi's setup. At the site, Kemi was training people who had been exposed to the stones to use them beneficially. He was certain Kojima would come that night, and Aruma doubted their ability to subdue him. Kemi, understanding Kojima's power best, explained that Kojima was behind the petrification incident and the airplane explosion. If Kojima completely lost control and his human consciousness, they would have no way to defeat him, making it imperative to capture him before that happened. Kemi wanted to join the fight but had to wait for his armor to be repaired, so he needed Aruma and Ruri to act as his bodyguards that night. Kagami would guard the rooftop. Ruri placed the stone she had recently auctioned into the masked demon's mouth, who craved and nearly chewed it, but Ruri stopped it. Kojima indeed arrived, flying in from afar, and the masked demon quickly sensed him. Aruma started to lose control, so Ruri infused him with power from the stone. Kojima released stone demons to attack Kagami and the soldiers on the roof, then infiltrated the facility. Kojima made his way to the medicine storage. However, the place was rigged with high-temperature fire traps that ignited, burning both Kojima and the medicine stash. Seeking relief from the heat, Kojima plunged into water, only to be electrocuted. He fled to another room where a girl awaited him, transforming. Not wanting to waste time, he tried to escape, but she fired a net at him. Kojima phased through it and escaped, then summoned the demons to attack and storm the place in search of Kemi. Aruma confronted him, urging Kojima to surrender peacefully. Instead, Kojima pulled Aruma down and pinned his hands to the floor. But Aruma used his own strength to pursue him. Kojima argued that those with such powers deserved freedom, not to become tools for humans. The girl joined Aruma, double-teaming Kojima. She kicked him, but Kojima quickly used his phasing ability to escape, with Aruma still holding on to him. Kojima called in the demons to create chaos and fled. Although he didn't get the medicine, he now had a new target. Over the weekend, Aruma planned to rest at home, but remembered he had to prepare for the school festival. Ruri was cheerfully observing the other students getting ready. This was her first festival since becoming the school president, and she was so excited that she drank countless bottles of water. Kagami, seeing her joy, wanted to do something but was interrupted by Kana's two friends. They initially thought they were interfering, but Ruri had called them for help with something specific. She wanted to record a speech, but the masked demon suddenly yelled, prompting Kagami to take it outside. Kagami asked why, and it revealed that a demon had recently appeared nearby. Unaware, Aruma continued his preparations. The male students noticed Aruma helping and muttered snide remarks behind his back, not daring to say anything to his face. Kagami and the masked demon managed to drive away the small demon, but another one infiltrated and petrified everything it touched. Aruma arrived with supplies and helped Kana set up. She noted his height was advantageous, but Aruma commented that sometimes being too tall could be troublesome. Ruri also ran over, and Kana thanked her for lending the projector for her presentation. Aruma noticed the demon passing by, and Kagami and the masked demon soon caught its trail, meeting up with Aruma. The three entered a classroom, and Kagami wanted to deal with the demon without informing Ruri, fearing she would cancel the festival for safety reasons. If the masked demon's assessment was correct, Kagami could handle the demon alone, while Aruma kept Ruri away from it. Kagami went ahead, and Aruma wanted to use his powers to deal with the demon quickly. However, he needed Ruri's help to transform. Asking for her assistance would inevitably turn the school into a battleground, so the masked demon suggested he pretend in front of Ruri to get her to help him transform. Aruma then called Ruri, asking her to meet him on the rooftop. She suddenly blushed and stammered, making Aruma sweat nervously on the other end. Meanwhile, Kagami got into his car and instructed his staff to scan the school for the demon and discreetly bring weapons without Ruri noticing. Aruma met Ruri on the rooftop, and both hesitated to speak. Summoning his courage, Aruma explained that he wanted to master his powers and needed her help. He tried to follow the masked demon script, but found it too difficult and gave up. Seeing the benefit of him mastering his powers to better protect everyone, Ruri agreed to help. They returned to the meeting room, where Ruri brought out small stones to assist Aruma in transforming. Although small, these stones were worth millions, startling Aruma. Just as he transformed, Kana entered the room. Aruma stammered, unsure how to explain, but Kana assumed he was cosplaying and asked him to help promote her presentation. Kagami now had his weapons and started searching for the demon. Along the way, he encountered the transformed Aruma and decided to follow him. Suddenly, the demon began spreading throughout the school, making Aruma and Kagami look like two people in costumes chasing each other around the school. The demon split into two parts outside, forcing Aruma to pursue one of them. Kana's two friends called out to Kagami at the front gate, thinking he was in costume. He played along to deceive them and quickly ran off, but they continued to follow. Kagami chased the other half of the demon, while Aruma pursued his target, weaving through the support columns of a large sign. The group above saw Aruma in costume and threw paint at him, causing the sign to fall. Aruma had to run to catch it, and one person was left dangling precariously. Aruma told the person to hold on, while the other two had already climbed down. Kagami finished off his demon and went to find Aruma. Aruma was forced to choose between saving the person or revealing his powers to hold both the sign and the person. Hesitating, he let the person fall and caught them, while Kagami used a grappling hook to secure the sign. People now viewed Aruma differently. He and Kagami then pursued the remaining demon, which had entered a fireworks container and merged with a firework. Aruma rushed to grab it and tried to use his weapon, but his armor's time ran out. Kagami told him to throw it over, and he punched it a few times before tossing it into the sky as it was about to explode. The demon burst into fireworks, and Kagami's staff pretended it was part of a film shoot. They had to tell Ruri the truth, and she agreed to overlook it, but insisted they not do such things again. The festival day arrived, drawing many participants, and Kana's presentation finished second, losing to the literature club. Nevertheless, it was a joyful day. Shortly after, Ruri treated Kana's stone collecting club to a camping trip. One day, while the girls were chatting animatedly, Aruma sat deep in thought, prompting Ruri to tease him. She was happy to be with him on the trip. Climbing the mountain, Kana mentioned a nearby shrine dedicated to a stone god, saying the mountain was built like a pyramid to honor it. Everyone laughed it off as nonsense. But Aruma, noticing the mountain did resemble a pyramid, felt something strange yet continued on. When the girls headed to the beach to play, Kana stayed behind to collect stones by the stream. Kagami was cooking when he noticed Aruma had run off, taking the masked demon with him. Aruma informed Kagami that he sensed a stone demon nearby because he felt a chill every time he looked at the mountain. The masked demon mentioned that the demon inside the mountain was an ancient type, but he was unsure of its exact nature. Suddenly, Kana returned and informed the group about an entrance to the mountain she had found. The girls wanted to explore it, but Aruma sensed the presence of the demon inside. Kagami then stopped Kana, suggesting they eat barbecue first and explore later. The girls went back ahead, while Kagami prepared to explore alone, equipped with a special cannon with immense power, but only capable of a single shot. Although reluctant to leave Ruri in Aruma's care, Kagami had no choice in this situation. Kagami and the masked demon entered the pyramid-like mountain and began mapping the pathways to avoid getting lost. The masked demon acted as a sensor to alert them when they were close to the demon. Observing the architecture, they realized this place was constructed rather than naturally formed. The masked demon, usually talkative, became serious as small stone demons approached. The girls later wondered where Kagami was and were told he had left for urgent business. Kagami had dealt with the minions, and the masked demon informed him that a larger demon lay motionless in the mountain's heart. Suddenly, the masked demon's expression changed, and the mountain began to shake violently. Sensing trouble, Ruri ran off, forcing Aruma to follow. They both fell into a massive pit as the masked demon reported that the demon had awakened. Hearing this, Kagami panicked even more. His support team had lost contact as he ventured too deep. The masked demon could locate Ruri, but reaching her would be exhausting due to the awakening of numerous demons within. Aruma regained consciousness and began searching for Ruri, only to step on something unexpected. The glowing objects turned into demons and chased after Aruma. Meanwhile, the three girls were evacuated from the danger zone. The support team noticed that a magnetic field inside the pyramid was preventing them from contacting Kagami and locating Ruri. Kagami, following the masked demon's directions, found Ruri and woke her up, realizing that Aruma had gotten separated. Suddenly, the room shook, causing the masked demon to fall out of the robot, and Kagami and Ruri became trapped. They discovered the demon in the room, and Kagami fought to protect them as the room gradually closed in, getting smaller. Kagami continually battled the small demons, while Aruma searched for them and dealt with more demons. Ruri urged Kagami to fire the cannon, but he hesitated, fearing it would harm her. Aruma stumbled upon the demon's egg chamber directly beneath the room, where Kagami and Ruri were trapped. The masked demon, having fallen down, revealed that a wall separated them. Kagami decided to break a hole in the ceiling so Ruri could help Aruma activate his power. The demon began biting into the robot, forcing Kagami to hurry. He used the stone he had to activate Aruma's power. Aruma succeeded in harnessing the power, but had to attack from below instead of breaking through the ceiling. He used a precise, powerful move to pierce through the mountain, ensuring he didn't hit Kagami or Ruri. The attack successfully destroyed the demon and secured the safety of those above. The next day, Kagami was disappointed with Aruma, feeling let down by his promise to protect Ruri, which led to the current situation. As a result, Kagami decided to train Aruma to meet higher standards. Shortly after, Kemi set out to handle an out-of-control demon emitting extremely high heat. Despite the risk, Kemi decided to engage in hand-to-hand combat with the demon and successfully defeated it. He returned to the base with a severely burned arm, realizing he needed to find stronger stones. Meanwhile, Kojima, suffering from withdrawal, curled up like an addict, reminiscing about his time locked in a cage. Kojima, who spent his days confined and often strapped to a table for experiments, was injected with a suppressive drug. He broke free, grabbed the medicine, and injected himself to prevent losing control. He saw the girl he had with him trying to create a serum from her own blood for him, but it wasn't strong enough, and continuing would endanger her life. Kojima decided he needed to find a stronger serum source. One day, while Aruma was in class, a paper dart flew his way from Kagami, asking if he wanted to have lunch together. Kagami signaled for him to read the rest of the note, which was from Ruri. Blushing, Aruma asked to go to the bathroom and escaped to the rooftop, where he napped until Ruri found him and brought him lunch. Feeling awkward, he asked her to sit further away. When she insisted on sitting close, he told her it was bothersome, leading Ruri to believe he found her annoying. Upset, she walked away, but turned back to remind him again before leaving. That afternoon in the club, the group was playing soccer. Kana's two friends continuously bothered Kagami, giving him a headache, while Ruri brooded over whether she was truly bothersome. Kana noticed Aruma's absence, feeling a bit down. At that moment, Kagami called Ruri for a meeting, so they left early. With Kagami gone, Kana's friends lost interest in staying. On the way back, Kagami complained about Kana's friends, while Ruri was preoccupied with Aruma's words. Suddenly, Kagami nearly hit someone with the car. He got out to check and found the girl who was with Kojima. Seizing the opportunity while Kagami was distracted, Kojima sneaked into the car, kidnapped Ruri, and attacked the masked demon. The girl apologized and left, while Kagami, returning to the car, discovered Ruri was gone. He contacted the support team, but they had no signal. Ruri had been taken onto a boat by Kojima. Hearing of the kidnapping, Kemi immediately took action, sending the girl into battle since his armor was still under repair. Kagami informed Aruma of the situation, telling him to stay ready for when he was needed, as taking him along now would be unproductive. Aruma returned home and attempted to fix the masked demon, using both glue and tape, but the masked demon remained unresponsive. Just as Aruma felt discouraged, the masked demon suddenly woke up, unaware of what had happened. Remembering that he had sensed a demon presence, before losing consciousness, The masked demon felt that presence again. He informed Aruma that it was Kojima who had kidnapped Ruri, and that Kojima was coming their way. Before he could arrive, however, he was intercepted and attacked by Kemi's subordinate. Aruma ran outside and encountered Kemi and Kagami. Kagami, upon hearing that Kojima had kidnapped Ruri, remembered that the little girl he almost hit with his car was the same one who ran away with Kojima. His subordinate, who was trying to assert dominance over Kojima, had her gun knocked away by him, but she was ready to fight hand-to-hand. She quickly pushed him away and retrieved her gun. However, her overconfidence allowed him to get close and cut her arm with a sword before fleeing. She had to pull out the sword and shoot it, shattering it as it transformed into a demon, before returning to find Kemi. Kemi knew Kojima had escaped, but he wasn't worried because his subordinate had implanted a tracker during their fight. Kagami quickly set off to follow the signal. Kemi told Aruma that he could come to him for medicine to control his powers if needed. Kemi then had to return to base to treat his subordinate, while Kagami followed the signal provided by Kemi. Kagami didn't want Aruma to follow him, fearing he would lose control, but Aruma decided to take a car and follow Kagami anyway. The demon mask knew Aruma cared about Ruri because if anything happened to her, he would be useless too. Aruma then followed Kagami, who was tracking the signal until it suddenly disappeared. The place where the signal vanished was an abandoned military bunker, but a few minutes later, the signal reappeared. Kagami suspected something was wrong and told Aruma to come forward and hand him the demon mask. Knowing that Aruma wanted to help, he let him investigate the place while he continued to follow Kojima. Kagami gave Aruma a stone box to activate Ruri's powers if he found her. At that moment, Ruri was being bled and asked to go to the bathroom. The girl who was holding her, after some consideration, allowed Ruri to go. But Ruri immediately resisted and asked where they were. The girl explained that only Kojima could come and go from this place, and the reason they both ran away from Kemi was that it was more free and less terrifying here than the human society outside. The girl suddenly exhibited strange behavior similar to Ruri's, which surprised Ruri. The girl revealed that her brother had been killed by Kemi before she fainted. She and Kojima never lied because they didn't want to be as wicked as humans. Meanwhile, upon hearing about a suspicious location, Kemi set out immediately. At this time, Kagami was tracking the position where the signal had stopped and discovered that the tracking device had been attached to a car. Aruma had ventured into Kojima's hideout so deeply that the support team could no longer contact him. Aruma then encountered Kojima, who decided to reveal the truth to him and asked him to follow. Kojima took Aruma to see Ruri and expressed his concern because she was feeling unwell, and taking her to a hospital was not an option since no one would treat them. He decided to tell both of them the truth. They were being exploited by Kemi. The fact that the girl's brother had been killed was also true. The real truth, as Kojima revealed, was that Kemi was experimenting on people with powers derived from the stones. He had captured and stripped them of their freedom, using his title as a scientist to torment them. That's why Kojima and the girl had escaped. If they were captured again, they would be killed, not only by Kemi, but also by those who coveted these powers. This was the truth that both Aruma and Ruri had to accept, and Kojima advised them to stop interfering if they understood. Kojima planned to kill Kemi to gain their freedom. Aruma, determined not to let that happen, was suddenly at a loss for words when Kojima questioned his true motive for fighting. Just then, the place was attacked, causing the entire hideout to collapse. Ruri rushed to save the girl. When they looked around, Aruma was shielding both of them from falling rocks. Kojima then realized that the attacker was the uncontrollable demon that Kemi had pursued before. Kemi arrived shortly after, looking for Ruri and Aruma. Aruma began to show signs of losing control. Kojima transformed to fight and managed to push the demon away, but the demon was stronger than Kojima, who knew the person inside the uncontrollable demon. As Kojima tried to evade, Kemi suddenly attacked him, grabbing him by the neck and saying something before letting the demon knock Kojima away. Kojima was thrown towards Aruma, and the girl rushed out to help Kojima, causing Aruma to drop the stone box under the pressure. The demon rushed forward but stopped in front of the girl, who recognized her brother. However, Kemi arrived and attacked, forcing Kojima to redirect the blow towards the uncontrollable demon. Kojima then escaped, taking the girl with him, while the demon turned to attack Kemi. Aruma wanted to get Ruri out of there, so she grabbed a nearby stone and transferred its power to him. Aruma broke free from the rubble and joined Kemi in fighting the demon. He wanted to say something but decided to fight first. Kemi believed the demon had lost its humanity and wanted Aruma to take it down. Instead of using weapons, Aruma fought hand-to-hand, allowing the demon to escape. Afterward, Aruma asked Kemi about what Kojima had said. Kemi claimed that his experiments were meant to help, not harm, those people. With that, he left, leaving Aruma confused about whom to trust, while Ruri wanted some time to think. Back at the base, Kemi had recaptured the demon, having initially released it to deal with Kojima, and planned to capture the girl named Faye. However, the demon retaining some humanity was unexpected. Realizing Aruma and Ruri were beginning to doubt him, Kemi planned to lie to drive a wedge between them. Meanwhile, Faye cried over her brother, who was alive, but now a monster. Kojima was determined to protect the girl at all costs. A few days later, Ruri asked Kagami to investigate Kemi's research facility further. She decided to draft a contract to present to Aruma. When she found him cleaning his house, she insisted he put everything away before opening the door. Ruri got straight to the point. She wanted to make a contract so Aruma would have a reason to fight since he had been fighting for free. Aruma flatly refused and asked to go outside for some fresh air. The demon mask had anticipated this, and knew he had to play matchmaker for the two. Just as he came up with an idea, he was split in two, forcing Ruri to call Aruma back. Aruma reattached the mask, and it lamented that it only had 3 days left to live and needed them to find a special stone for healing. Ordinary stones wouldn't work, and this special stone wasn't enough. The mask needed a stone of sentiment, which could only be obtained if the two held hands. Both felt awkward upon hearing this. The next day, the two went to the train station to start their quest to find the stone to heal the demon mask. This was the first time Aruma saw an everyday version of Ruri, who was extremely clumsy, from buying train tickets to forgetting to scan her ticket and tripping. She stood waiting for the train with Aruma, who was blushing and looking away awkwardly. Ruri, however, thought she was truly annoying and troublesome. Meanwhile, Kagami met an acquaintance to greet and ask for help investigating Kemi. This person advised Kagami to stay away from Kemi, warning that delving deeper would likely result in being silenced. Just after the warning, someone started following Kagami. During this time, Ruri and Aruma arrived at the place where the demon mask was engraved. Along the way, Ruri got distracted by some items, leaving Aruma to walk ahead, deep in thought. He only realized Ruri was missing after a while, and went back to find her. Once they both reached their destination, they requested a piece of the demon mask. They held hands briefly while receiving the stone, and then quickly let go. Ruri called the demon mask, and he asked if they had made any progress, but they hadn't. So he told them to keep holding hands until the stone glowed. Ruri wanted to hold hands out of responsibility, but Aruma suggested they eat something first. They went to a noodle shop, and Ruri ordered the same dish as Aruma. She noticed that Aruma seemed upset and asked if he was still angry about the contract from the previous day or if he hated spending time with her. Her directness made Aruma realize that he had caused her to misunderstand. He explained that he wasn't fighting because he was forced to, but because he wanted to protect everyone. He admitted that his words had contradicted his feelings and hurt her, but he promised to change how he expressed himself. After paying for their meal and leaving, the shop owner asked Aruma if he had done it yet, holding up his pinky finger, which confused Ruri. When she asked Aruma about it, he explained that it symbolized friendship. After that, they comfortably held hands while walking. While walking with Aruma, Ruri realized that Aruma had previously lived in this area, as many locals recognized him. Aruma shared that he had lived there before his father went missing. Aruma then asked Ruri to wait by the train tracks while he ran alongside the train, but he still lost as always. He continued to tell Ruri about how he used to have friends here and had fun with them until one day when a friend was being bullied. Aruma took off the stone around his neck and unleashed his power, which scared his friends away. After that, he and his mother moved away, and he hadn't been able to make new friends since. They decided to head back and stopped by the beach. Ruri mentioned that she had met Aruma before, but he couldn't remember. He wondered why the beach was still crowded, and an older man explained that the beach had once had an accident but had since reopened, attracting many people who stayed late. They played at the beach for a while, and Ruri stepped on a seashell, prompting Aruma to carry her to the shore and bandage her foot. They also played with fireworks, and Aruma decided he would change from now on, because he had found a goal and someone to fight for. When they got home, the maids asked how their date went, and Ruri held up her pinky finger, leading to a misunderstanding. The demon mask, now repaired, revealed that he had lied to help their relationship progress, and it seemed to have worked. Kemi, meanwhile, realized that Ruri was starting to doubt him, so he began preparing a strategy to counter this. In the following days, Aruma had to train continuously with Kagami to the point of exhaustion, mostly getting beaten up and doubting whether he could keep up with the training schedule. On the way to school, Kana wondered why Aruma hadn't been appearing by the river lately. Aruma, in turn, wondered why she allowed someone like him into the club. She explained that she saw him as a unique stone she wanted to add to her collection. Simply as that. In class, Aruma remembered he hadn't done his homework due to the training with Kagami. Ruri had done it for him and handed it over, but the teacher caught them. The teacher acknowledged that there was nothing wrong with dating but warned against cheating like this. Kana's two friends then discussed how much Aruma had changed since the beginning of the year. Aruma later received a study guide from Kagami. Kagami wrote the instructions in the simplest way for Aruma, adding that if he still couldn't understand, he should consider repeating elementary school. Just then, the support team received news of a demon sighting and quickly called Kagami. However, there weren't just one but two demons. After Aruma submitted his test, the teacher was surprised at his rapid progress and the friends helping him. Later, he met Kana and walked home with her, feeling that everyone was more open with him now. He wasn't sure if he had changed, or if others had changed their perception of him. It seemed the change started when he got involved with Ruri. Suddenly, he encountered Ruri, who informed him of an emergency, prompting him to excuse himself from Kana. Aruma and Kagami were transported by plane to the location of one of the demons, with Kagami handling the other. Both sides were ready. Aruma quickly jumped down and faced the demon. It didn't move at first, so he planned to strike it down. However, it suddenly moved at the speed of sound and caught Aruma off guard, giving him a severe beating. Meanwhile, Kagami faced the second demon, which was bigger and fatter. It ripped off one of the robot's arms, forcing Kagami to retreat. The demon on Aruma's side, after thrashing him for a while, knocked down the helicopter carrying the maids and began speeding away. Aruma had to chase after it. Kagami fired a laser cannon at his demon, which opened its mouth and swallowed the blast, then spat it back at a car the maids had prepared nearby. The demon grabbed the car and started to devour it. Kagami rushed to stab the demon, but it nonchalantly dragged him along. Ruri, having recharged her gun, shot the demon, creating a hole but missing its core, which only made it angrier. After chasing for a while, the demon threw Aruma off and stomped on his head repeatedly. Despite this, Aruma struggled to keep fighting. The fat demon consumed everything thrown at it and returned it all. Meanwhile, Aruma was pinned to the ground by his demon, which continuously attacked with blinding speed, taking heavy damage. Aruma reached a breakthrough in his power, grabbed the demon, and threw it away. He broke free from the ground, used his scarf to bind the demon, flung it into the air, and then leaped up to finish it off, splitting it in half. Aruma then headed towards the remaining demon, accelerating with his newfound strength that gave him enhanced legs for speed and long jumps. At that moment, Ruri was in front of the demon, and it was about to devour her, when Aruma rushed in and knocked it down, delivering a finishing blow. Just when they thought it was over, the two lights on the heads of the two demon corpses suddenly flew up, merged together, and shot straight into the city. Aruma chased after them, as his armor was still intact, even though his body was exhausted, but his will remained strong. He used his power to turn himself into a missile, aiming directly at the demon. The demon tried to shoot out sparks to push him back, but in the end, Aruma prevailed. Some of Aruma's sparks hit the area where Ruri's sister was. The next morning, Aruma arrived at school quite early. He placed the stone he usually carried into the display case, and Kana believed that the stone would now be with its friends, much like Aruma himself. A few days later, Ruri heard news that her sister had shown strange changes on that day. In class, Aruma noticed that the two others hadn't come to school, which he found strange. Suddenly, Ruri came to school to find him and took him back to her house. She informed Aruma that her sister had unexpectedly broken free from the crystal, but hadn't woken up, with no brain activity, as if in a state of clinical death. Ruri explained that her sister's condition was due to the energy Aruma emitted last time and asked if he felt anything strange. He felt completely normal, leaving Ruri in tears of helplessness. She then apologized to Aruma for calling him over suddenly and crying, But he wanted to hear what had happened to her family that day to see if he could help. 5 years ago, as Ruri's family was preparing for Christmas, Kagami and her father were helping with the preparations. Kemi had also arrived, and the two sisters and Kagami went upstairs to make their own decorations. Ruri's parents decided to stop funding Kemi's research, even though his work could help Ruri control her powers. Her father believed Kemi's methods were inhumane, and Ruri's sister overheard this. The way to distinguish the two sisters was by their hair ties, blue for the older sister and red for the younger. The next morning, Ruri's sister went to call her downstairs to join their parents for the trip back to the mansion. As Ruri's sister picked up the ornament Ruri had painstakingly made, it suddenly tore and fell apart. Although she managed to pick it up, the angel figurine was broken, and Ruri, unwilling to let her sister fix it, clung to it stubbornly. Angry with her sister, Ruri stormed off and locked herself in her room. Ruri's family and Kagami's father decided to return to the mansion first, leaving Kagami behind to watch over Ruri and bring her back when she calmed down. Kagami then went inside and waited with Ruri, while her family returned to the mansion and began waiting there. The guards brought out a bottle of wine to celebrate Christmas, but suddenly the guard dogs started barking furiously and were immediately attacked by the uncontrollable fire demon. Ruri, meanwhile, was crying because she had been too harsh with her sister, who felt guilty for breaking her sister's ornament. Kagami's father saw the demon and rushed to fight it, but its power overwhelmed his guns and weapons, leaving him helpless. Ruri, having finished fixing her ornament, was ready to return with Kagami. The household staff had just finished preparing the food when the demon burst in. Kagami and Ruri were still on their way back. Ruri's father was confronted by the demon, knowing it was sent by Kemi, and was immediately incinerated. Ruri's mother and sister tried to flee but were caught and killed by the demon. In her desperate moment, Ruri's sister unleashed her power, encasing herself in crystal. The demon then encountered Kagami's father, who decided to use a suicide bomb to kill the demon. When Kagami arrived, he found the mansion in flames and his father dying. His father told him what had happened and entrusted Ruri's safety to him. Ruri saw her sister encased in crystal. I know this scene will remind everyone of Annie from that famous Titan series. To this day, Ruri still doesn't know what happened to her sister or how to free her. According to Kemi, Ruri's sister used her powers to protect herself, making it seem impossible to free her with external means. Ruri always fought because she believed her sister was afraid of the demons and had encased herself in crystal for protection. She thought that by eliminating all the demons, her sister would no longer be threatened and could wake up. The fact that the crystal had cracked during their battle reinforced her belief. She wanted to continue borrowing Aruma's strength, and he decided to help her. As they were leaving, Aruma encountered Kojima, who still believed that both he and Ruri were being used by Kemi. Aruma wanted to cooperate with Kojima to protect others, but Kojima insisted that although they shared similar powers, their goals were different, and he would stop at nothing to kill Kemi. The next day, Ruri's corporation was accused of tax evasion, and the police came to her door. Ruri knew it was a trap, but the paperwork, although falsified, was too sophisticated for her to dispute. Her bank accounts were frozen, and although she tried to retain some funds to keep the organization running, the police burst in to arrest her on charges of embezzlement. The school was subsequently closed, with the press gathering at the gates. Only Aruma's group remained, and they stood up to the press to defend Ruri. Aruma realized he couldn't just sit idly by and had to take action. He and the three girls escaped the school through a secret passage. Once outside, they met Kagami. Aruma scolded him for letting Ruri get arrested, but Kagami explained that he was overwhelmed and not just idling. They then left together, with Kana urging Aruma to bring Ruri back and tell her that they all believed in her innocence. Kagami informed them that Ruri's sister was still at the house, but they couldn't reach her. Ruri and the maids had all been taken away. Kagami knew they would have to act on their own, but Kemi's men suddenly arrived to suppress them. Ruri awoke to find herself lying on a table, prepared for surgery by Kemi. As Aruma and Kagami were captured, the demon mask fell to the ground. The maids arrived just in time and quickly dealt with Kemi's soldiers, freeing both of them. They had all evaded the police to get there. Kagami couldn't understand why they were still helping Ruri after being fired, but they all said it was voluntary to keep the organization running. Suddenly, Faye approached Aruma, informing him that Kojima had gone to kill Kemi and she wanted to join him. Kemi revealed that he intended to take Ruri's heart. Since the time of the Aztecs, people had known about this kind of power. Warriors with this power would have their hearts taken, which was the core of their strength, to be shared with those who craved it. By obtaining Ruri's heart, Kemi believed he could achieve godlike power. The threat to her life triggered Ruri's power to erupt. Aruma sensed Ruri's power, and Faye explained that Kemi had long planned to overthrow the Ruri family to monopolize the power of the stones. Kagami realized that Kojima acting first could be beneficial as it would disrupt the enemy. Kagami and the maids would help Aruma rescue Ruri, while Faye would guide them inside, despite the danger. To try and save her brother, Kemi decided to use extreme measures. Since Ruri had encased herself in crystal, he would do whatever it took to break the crystal, regardless of the damage to her body, because her core wouldn't be easily destroyed. Suddenly, Kemi noticed Kojima had broken in, and he also saw the Ruri family's vehicle nearby. He anticipated this, and sent out his subordinate and released Faye's brother. Kagami and the maids confronted Kemi's subordinate, while Aruma and Faye sneaked through a secret passage. Suddenly, Aruma was attacked and thrown inside by Faye's brother. Faye wanted to help her brother, and Aruma noticed something glowing. As he approached, the demon was thrown against the wall by Kojima. Aruma realized the stone he had been searching for was there. Kojima had rescued Faye from the demon. Faye wanted to save her brother, but Kojima believed her brother had lost his sanity and that it would be better to release him from his suffering, rather than let him continue to be exploited. Faye was confident that she had created a serum to save her brother. Reluctantly, Kojima agreed to his adopted sister's wishes and gave her a chance to save her brother. Meanwhile, Kagami struggled due to his bulky armor, making it difficult to fight a nimble opponent like Kemi's subordinate. She kicked Kagami, causing him to drop the demon mask. Aruma, now on his own, found his way to Ruri. Kemi was waiting but allowed Aruma to do as he pleased. As Aruma approached, his stone reacted to Ruri, who was almost entirely crystallized. Forced to use the stone, he approached Ruri and smashed the stone against the crystal. Memories from the past resurfaced, revealing that the stone had been given to Aruma's mother by Ruri's mother to help him control his power. On that very day, Aruma had saved Ruri from being hit by a falling beam. He couldn't believe he had forgotten that day, but he had now saved Ruri again. Kemi was surprised by the strength of their bond. Meanwhile, Kojima had subdued the demon, allowing Faye to inject the serum. Kemi revealed that he had known about Aruma's power and had orchestrated the attack 3 years ago to make him lose the stone that restrained his power. Aruma had been able to restrain himself through sheer willpower, meaning that all the hardships he faced were Kemi's doing to make him use his power. Suddenly, Faye's brother broke into the room, killing Kemi's assistant, who had mistreated Faye years ago. However, in a moment of carelessness, the demon was backstabbed by Kemi, who stole its heart. Faye was heartbroken as her brother died, while Kemi achieved what he wanted, the heart of one bearing the stone's power. He absorbed it and transformed into a being he believed had reached godhood. However, his ultimate goal was still Aruma, as Aruma's power far exceeded that of ordinary stone demons. Having absorbed Ruri's power, Aruma was the perfect form. Kojima tried to drag Kemi down to hell, but Kemi suddenly captured Faye and took her away, forcing Kojima to follow. Aruma then asked Ruri to help him transform. Aruma changed his armor to red, and as he and Ruri transformed, Ruri's sister also woke up. Although Kagami saw that things had stabilized, he still couldn't help others because his opponent was too difficult to deal with. Kojima couldn't attack Kemi because he kept using Faye as a shield, preventing Kojima from making any bold moves. Kemi saw Kojima as weak, but Faye, knowing she was always a burden to Kojima, wanted Kemi to take her life so Kojima could fight freely. Kemi decided to grant her wish and flew up, but before he could kill her, Aruma severed his arm and rescued Faye. However, Kemi quickly grabbed Kojima and began draining his power to heal. The demon mask met Ruri's sister, and both guided Ruri and the maids to the right path. Kojima fell after losing his wings. Seeing her protector in a dire state shocked Faye into manifesting armor. Kagami finally broke free and followed the demon mask's guidance to find them. Kemi had fully transformed into a demon, his face becoming monstrous, and he was determined to consume Aruma. Aruma threw Kemi towards a nearby mountain to continue their battle. Faye arrived and began shooting at Kemi, while Kagami followed the demon mask's directions to join them. Ruri's sister, who had regained consciousness but couldn't transform, told Faye to stop fighting because all the bullets she fired were absorbed by Kemi, who had gilded his entire armor. This allowed him to overpower Aruma. Fee was disheartened, feeling she had only made things worse. Aruma, however, had a plan. He cut his hair, ran around the mountain multiple times, and then transformed his weapon into a drill, charging straight at Kemi. The impact sent Kemi flying back to the base, and his armor disappeared. Realizing his body was disintegrating, Kemi grabbed Fee and jumped down, placing the core inside her, to make her as mad as he was. As he perished, he believed Fee would plunge the world into darkness. Fee then transformed into a crystal obelisk and ascended. Aruma froze the surroundings to prevent water from flooding and drowning everyone inside. Aruma tried to get Fee to stop, but she believed that she was the cause of all the suffering around her and wanted to die. Deadly beams continuously shot out, destroying everything around. Ruri and her sister realized that only Kojima and Aruma could stop Fee because Kojima had been with her for a long time. Ruri's sister lent Kojima her strength, giving him a white armor to join the battle. Kojima met up with Aruma and asked for his help to reach Fei. Aruma flew up and used his power to encase the crystal and apply thrust to keep it from falling. He began to talk sense into Fei. Meanwhile, Kojima somehow managed to get inside the crystal and remove the evil core from Fei, crushing it to free her. With everything back to normal, Ruri faced the media to restore her company's reputation. Her organization was re-established and resumed its activities. Aruma decided to discard the remaining piece of the stone, choosing to no longer restrain himself. Ruri's sister joined the club, and the whole group went on a cruise trip abroad. And with that, the movie came to an end.